Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So, in this book, The Concise Presentation of Fiqh, there was this really interesting section about what you do at a funeral and what you're allowed to do. And there was two hadiths here that I wanted to share with you. One of them was by Aisha, may Allah be peace with her, and Abdullah ibn Jafar. So it says here that it's permissible for you to take the covering off the face of the dead person and you can kiss them. I guess on their forehead. I've never felt that at any funeral. But obviously, if it was my child, then it would probably, I'd have some compulsion there, right? But there's different traditions in every culture, but it just says here that you're allowed to do that. And that you got 3 days to cry for the dead. And the citations here are Aisha, may Allah be peace with her, said, the Prophet, peace be upon him, went to Uthman ibn Madhun when he was dead. He uncovered his face, leaned over and kissed him. He also cried to the extent that I saw tears running down his cheeks. So here we get to see the behavior of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and that someone was so dear to him that he wept for them, right? And also gave them a farewell in a very intimate manner of their corpse. So that shows you the connection he felt to that person, but also about what we're allowed to do, and that it's not weakness to show emotion at a funeral. I'm not saying you have to do it all the time, but that a Prophet, peace be upon him, can do that. And this adds to another element because of how our Prophet, peace be upon him, was a warrior, a statesman, a father, so this adds to the dynamicism as well. It goes, for the other hadith was, Abdullah bin Ibn Jafar stated, the Prophet, peace be upon him, allowed the family of Jafar to mourn for 3 days. Then he came to them and said, do not cry for your brothers after today. For your brother after today. So here it's like making sure that they don't become broken. Some people can cry, and they really just plunge into a deep pool of depression. So I think this reminder of come back, right? Like, hey, you comfort them, but you don't let them keep falling. You know what I'm trying to say? You sort of pull them back and are like, hey, it's going to be all right. Like, you try to bring them back up again. You try to give them a sense of, I hear you, I'm with you. Don't let yourself crumble. Grieving is good, but do not reopen your wounds constantly on a spiritual and mental level. That's what I get from this. Because there might be a time in your life where you meet someone and the grief they have has stayed for such a long time that their mind has began to turn and they have started to neglect their hygiene, neglect their duties towards their children, and they have let so many things go that their life starts to fall apart, which then propels them deeper into their depression and psychosis. So it's not easy to tell a mourning person, okay now, right? But it's important that we are a sense of strength for one another in times of distress in, a multifaceted approach. So may we remember this, practice it ourselves, but also recognize the signs and when someone has gone on for a long time. That may sound cruel to some. They'll be like, how can you say that? But it's like, there are some people who have a personality that is addicted to grief, that it's just, they're sometimes right on the edge of a breakdown and they can't handle it. So, take a gander at a funeral. I do this, I don't know about you, but I watch what people are doing. How is everyone behaving? It's very interesting. For me, it's just like a fly on the wall type of person. I observe bugs and stuff, and I do the same with people. And you'll see some people are racked with grief, and some people are very stoic handling it. Sometimes there's just kids running around, they don't even understand what a funeral is. there's all different types of personalities and energies, but there are some people who cling to the casket and they can't even lift their face up. They're just like, ugh. And that's who you're like, okay, we gotta watch them for the next month. You know, because sometimes people can get really weird after a death. They can get kind of strange. I had a great cousin. He totally went away from the family after his mom overdosed on pills and alcohol. He never heard of him again. I was devastated when he left. Yeah, my cousin Forrest. He just, no one ever heard of him again. I don't even know. I don't even think anyone in the family knows how to reach him. You would have to like investigate. But at the funeral, I remember I was sitting there and she was in the casket. You go up, how we do it. She's completely open because they're not Muslims, right? So it's different. And I just looked at her and I was just like, oh, it's a dead body. And I always like to touch the hand because I was like, whoa, there's no life in there. It's all cold and stiff. And I sat in the church rows and he was there, but his face was red and he was going left to right. He was just racked and never came around. I never saw him like at any Thanksgiving. I didn't see him at any birthdays. You know, those are kuffar holidays, so I wouldn't be able to go to them now. But yeah, it just seems quite strange how some people, they can snap after a funeral and totally change, and just their whole outlook on life is, you know, shifted to something that will actually increase their pain or the pain of others, you know, for that fact. But I really enjoyed this one because it was like, we have to have strength and we have to push ourselves to get back to our routine, because extended grief can destroy your spirituality, affect your prayer focus. It can affect so much. And I know it's easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. But we're still supposed to try, right? I mean, Allah make it all easy for us. Yeah. So, somber topic. You know what I mean? It's not the easiest topic, you know, depending on the time of day where you are. But important to learn how we're supposed to behave at funerals and how we can help others.